Okay, in this video I am going to be wood burning this Luna Moth template onto a piece of cork. This is almost an 8-inch cork trivet. I got them on Amazon. I will link them below in the description, the video description. So my first step is to get the template exactly where I want it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I do plan on adding a border and some little little sparklies around it. So I'm not too concerned if it's not specifically centered. Now when it comes to transferring designs onto cork, tape does not stick very well. Like I'm really trying to... There we go. Okay, and I'm gonna slide this piece of transfer paper underneath the Luna Moth. I am not going to transfer everything here. I am going to transfer the main elements and then eyeball it from there. The first thing I'm gonna do is the body. Okay, I think that's as good as I'm gonna get in terms of detail. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off and start burning. Cork is super stinky, so I have my little desktop fan here. I always put it on high and I kind of tilt it down and point it away. I also have my window, because I'm sitting in front of my window. My window is cracked, and this can kind of help create a draft to pull the smoke out and blow it directly out the window. I'm using my burnishing nib. It is a nice thick line maker, so I'm gonna use this for all of my outlines. All right, I have my burner on a 4. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit more. Ooh, that's a 5. Let's do 5.5. Yeah, that's good. So I want both halves of the Luna Moth to look the same. So when I'm doing something like that, usually I will do exactly what I do on one side to the other side, and I will do the mirror sections as I go. I don't do one half, burn one half, and then go burn the other half. I burn both of the same elements at the same time. I'm gonna start in the middle. And I'm kind of trying to imitate this fuzzy body fur texture. And then I will turn it upside down, kind of at an angle. And again, whatever I do to one side, I will do to the other. So that's good to go. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch to my skew nib. So now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do all of my other little line work details and add some fur textures and things like that. So I'm just eyeballing this part, freehanding it. And I like doing the details with this nib because, as you can see, it gives a much smaller or thinner line, a much thinner burn, and I really like that for the details. Okie doke. Now I'm gonna do the border around the whole thing. I just am free-handing this. I'm eyeballing it. I love this specific nib for doing my borders because it maintains an even thickness of a line the whole way around. And when I am eyeballing these borders, I always like to have the edge of whatever it is I'm burning on. Normally it's wood. I usually like to have the edge of the wood on this side. Because when I'm looking kind of at an angle, the way I hold my head, so I'm looking at an angle, and I need to be able to judge the distance between where I'm burning and the edge of the wood and maintain that distance the whole way around to get a consistent, even border. If I was burning this way, you know, I would be looking this way, but my hand, like looking at it from the left side, I can't judge the distance as well. And having my hand covering up the edge of the wood here, I can't see it. You know, I can't really judge the distance nearly as well as I can if I have the open edge exposed. So I can just and go. Does that make sense? And then when I'm doing these, you'll notice that I can't do the whole thing in one stroke. So I do what I can in that range of motion, and then I pick up the piece and I turn it, and then rinse and repeat. I do what I can in that range of motion. I feel like I can't really keep going once I get down here. So then I pick it up and move it. And then when I go to start where I left off, I don't start here at the end of the line where I left off. I will start a little bit back and go over it so that way it looks more seamless. I just like my lines to be able to flow together. All right, and now that I'm approaching where I first started, this is where I will need to start making any adjustments. So if I'm not equal distant here where I'm ending versus where I'm starting, then I need to like start bringing this line in more so it would connect, or the opposite. If I have found that I'm too far in, like if this line was here, I would need to start bringing it out. But that's not really a problem for me because I've been doing this technique for a while, so I've gotten pretty good at it at this point, and I usually don't have to make a huge correction. Usually it just lines up really, really seamlessly, just like that. All right, I'm gonna add some of my little sparklies. Now I'm gonna switch to my shader nib. I still have my burner on like a 5.5 out of 10, so I'm at a medium heat. I tested the heat and I see that it's a little too hot, a little too dark for what I want. So I just turned it down to a 4, almost a 4. It's like 4.25. And that's a better shade for me. So I'm going to add some soft shading around the body. I don't want to cover up the lines that I did. So I had wood burned some of those lines coming out from the body. I don't want to cover it up. I'm just trying to add a little bit more depth. Darkening some of those lines that I did earlier. Oh, the way I'm doing this is I just have my shading nib on its side. So you can use the shader flat. You know, you can touch down on the surface using the full face of the shader so it makes full contact, or you can also turn it on its side and use it for line work. So that's what I'm doing right now. I just turned it up on its side. And I want to darken these. I'm just adding some detail as I go in spots where I think it could use it but not be overpowering. Last but not least, I am switching to my ballpoint nib. Can you see that? To do some dots. I'm actually going to go in and shade my little sparkles. I thought I would like them open like that, but I don't think I do. I'm gonna add a little bit of shading to them. I think I would like to add a second line border. So you can see that I did just mess up this area here, but I think it'll be okay in the end. Whenever something like that happens, I don't throw my hands up and like, ugh, that's terrible, I totally screwed that up. Like, I just leave it until the end because there are ways that you can change it or incorporate it into something else. And sometimes mistakes aren't even apparent anymore at the end. Once you go back and you're looking at everything, it might not seem nearly as obvious anymore. So then it's like, okay, cool. Now you don't really need to worry about it. I think it's okay, but it is bothering me a little bit. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to thicken this part and try to connect that to that. But then I'm going to take my burnishing nib and fill it in so it's a solid black line all the way around. So like, yeah, that doesn't look great, but I'm about to cover it up. So let's just swap nibs and do it again. This is how you try new things. You try new things, even if you're not sure how to do it. See, I like this. This was a happy little accident. I think this is giving the moth a lot more contrast. Like, I feel like it's popping more than just the single line did. Does that make sense? I'm not pressing very hard. Cork is, I don't want to say fragile. Fragile is not the right word. Brittle, maybe. It really just starts to crumble and deteriorate as it burns. So if I was pressing really hard as I'm going, I'm just going to shred it. It's just going to crumble apart. And I have found that to be true with multiple kinds and brands of cork. So it's not like it's just these round ones or this brand that I bought these from. Like, I've noticed that with cork across the board. So just a heads up, that is something to be aware of. If you're burning and you find that you're getting a lot of crumbles and flakes and stuff, it might be because you're using too much pressure. I really like that. I feel like that gave it a little bit more dimension. But now I'm looking at it and I'm wondering if I could maybe go back over the outline of my Luna Moth to darken the outline up to kind of match the darkness of the border. Only one way to know. Okay, let's see. We're going on a journey together. Ooh, okay. So I'm doing this at the same heat that I did the border. I'm at a 6.5. And again, I'm just lightly going over it. I'm just kind of gliding. And it is darkening. Can you tell? I don't know if it's gonna come through on the video at all. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I like how the rim came out, the border. I like the little sparkles and dots. Cool. All right, well, that was a fun adventure. Thank you for your patience and for watching. If you have any questions about anything, always feel free to drop them below in the comments. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I am always on Instagram at It's David and Renee. Links to the cork trivets will be in the description. A link to the brass brush that I like is in the description. A link to the little desktop fan that I have is also in the description. If you have any other questions about any materials that I use or anything, feel free to give me a shout. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.